Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Canadian music was front and center at last night's Juno Awards in Halifax. Breakout artists, moving tributes, and some very solid BC representation. Who are your favorite Canadian musicians and artists right now? And do you have a favorite moment from last night's show? And after the break, we get learning with our science and climate specialist, Darius Mahdavi. He's loading up some fun facts for you, and we want to hear yours. I'm Dan Burritt, in for Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. And thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1, CBC Television, and live streaming on the CBC News app, as well as our website, cbc.ca/BC, and the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. Before we get to music, we want to take you to downtown Vancouver, where what's being called a cleanup has begun at Crab Park. Officials from the Vancouver Park Board have temporarily moved campers for this week-long cleanup. About 40 tents were at the park. Their users have to move to a nearby sheltering area. The city says it's needed to clean up garbage, feces, rats, needles, among other things. But some campers and advocates call it a decampment in disguise. The CBC's John Hernandez joins us live from Crab Park. John, thanks for being here. What's happening there right now?
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of tension and anxiety today. As you can see behind me, this blue fence was erected this morning, and Vancouver police, along with park rangers, are controlling who can come in and out. Now, those fences surround the encampment that's been here for quite some time, and as you can see, there's some pretty large structures in there as well. So they're determining who can come in and out. People are trying to retain some of their possessions and move it to a temporary sheltering area just on the other side of the park. You know, there are a dozen or so tents in that temporary zone, but people are trying to get in there, grab some more of their stuff before they fear it all gets sort of thrown in the trash. Bulldozers come in. So just a lot of concern, anxiety that people can't get their things.
And John, the city has stressed that this is not a decampment and people can return in early April. What do campers there think of that? Do they believe that?
Yeah, there's a lot of skepticism over that. This camp has been around for quite some time. There's structures like a warming tent in there. There was a kitchen in there. Things that people have taken quite an amount of time to set up, and it seems like a somewhat stable place for them. I spoke with one resident, Dave Bradbury. He was skeptical of some of the city's reasonings behind this cleanup, including the issue of rat infestation, something he calls a scare tactic.
Just another misleading statement from the Parks Board, or the Vancouver City, or it's another misleading information to the public, and it's just the public's not even here because they're not. Yeah. Nobody down here, right here, is a part of the general public.
So as you can see, a lot of skepticism that these residents will be able to return in about a week or so's time, the amount of time the city says it will take to clean the area up.
John, what are the other options for the campers there beyond this nearby sheltering area? Is there one?
Yeah, if you talk to anybody here or anybody who's lived, in some of these encampments over the years, is that there's not really anything else in the way of options. Shelter spaces are few and far between. Affordable housing options are few and far between. Former city councilor and longtime advocate Jean Swanson was here today. She actually pointed out a vacant lot that's just to my right here. If you'll recall, the Crab Park encampment emerged in that spot a number of years ago, and they'd like to see that as an option to open up. They say that would be more accessible than this park behind me here. You could bring in trailers, things like tiny homes, washroom facilities, as opposed to where people currently are right now, which, during the rainy season can get pretty muddy and tough to maintain. So that's an option they'd like to see opened, but for now it's not on the table.
All right, the CBC's John Hernandez live at Crab Park in Vancouver, and you can see much more of John's reports on radio as well as on CBC television tonight at 6 o'clock and 11. John, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is 1:10 in the Mountain Time Zone. You are listening to BC Today. Coming up, we are talking about Canadian music and the 2024 Junos last night. And we want to hear from you. Who is your favorite Canadian musician or group of all time, or perhaps just in the moment? What was your favorite moment from the Junos? Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone. You can email BC Today as well at cbc.ca. It was a big night for the Beaches last night. The Toronto group won the Juno for Rock Album of the Year for Blame My Ex. Here is some of their performance from the track Blame Brett from that album. Canadian music was center stage in Halifax last night. The 2024 Juno Awards were held in a fast-paced 2-hour show highlighting live performances and some very solid BC representation. We're asking you now, who is your favorite Canadian musician or group? It could be all time. It can be who you're listening to right now. Did you watch the Junos? And if so, what was your favorite moment or moments? Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone. Please be pulled over or hands-free when you do that. You can text us 236-330-2623, and you can email us, bctoday@cbc.ca. Here are some of the highlights from last night.
In the day, in the night, say it right, say it all. Either got it or you don't. You either stand or you fall.
It's a blood sport, blood feels like pain. Make your vision go blurry while your brain goes blank into oblivion. Use a box to box the face, rocks the blocks to block. Let your backbone slide. Just let it 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 slide. Hell no, I can't slow down. It's gonna go. Peace.
You heard there Victoria's own Nelly Furtado did a great job hosting last night. Also in that montage, Surrey's Corinne Aujla, who won the TikTok Performer of the Year, and Maestro Fresh West, the godfather of hip-hop in Canada, inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. Next year, the Junos will be coming back to our province. So we have gathered 2 BC musicians to give us their insight. We're starting with Darren Young, D. Metz, one half of the Snotty Nose Rez Kids, who is joining us from Halifax, having been at the Junos. Snotty Nose Rez Kids were up for 2 awards last night for album artwork for I'm Good, Hey HBU, and for Music of the Year, and the 2023 Prism Prize winning Damn Right. Darren, thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
You have fun last night?
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Well said. You didn't win, hate to say, but you have won many Junos in the past. What stood out for you from last night?
It was just The biggest thing for me was seeing the representation on behalf of the Indigenous community. You know what I mean? Like our first Junos in 2019, it was just us in the Indigenous category, which was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of us, 6 maybe. And like you fast forward to this year and there was 38 of us nominated outside of the category. You know what I mean? So you love to see the growth. Obviously it wasn't going to happen overnight, but it's gradually happening and you just love to see it.
And there were some fabulous performances last night. What was it?
Oh, for sure.
What was it like to be in that room for that tribute to Robbie Robertson with Asanabi, Allison Russell, I mean, William Prince, many guests?
It was beautiful, man. I tend to stay off my phone in moments like that because I just want to just embrace it in full as it is. And it was beautiful, man. And it just goes to show like the doors that he knocked down for artists like them and us to be able to do what we do. You know what I mean? So it was beautiful.
What does it say that you've gone from what you said years ago, around 6 nominations, now to 38, but that moment where it was acknowledged that Robbie had to hide his indigeneity for so long, so many decades ago, and when he chose to reveal it, those were on his terms. But what a progression that has been, albeit a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show like how the times are changing. Whereas like you look at us, like me and my brother, we came out the gate be like, nah, this is who we are.
Yep.
We ain't hiding. We're not hiding anything. This is who we are. You get us in full. So it just goes to show like how much has changed over the years. And, you know, big ups to him, man. I'm glad he finally got the love and respect that he rightfully deserved.
Yep. We already have some calls. We're going to dive into Glenda in Metchosin. Glenda, what did you make of the Junos? Hi, Glenda, you're on. Go ahead. Don't have Glenda. That's okay. We'll get back to her in just a sec. Let's try Tim in Kamloops. Tim, are you there? Hello, Tim? Oh, there we are. You know what? Let's dive back to Darren for just a sec. Juno's coming back to Vancouver next year, Darren. What are you looking forward to?
Man, that's the home city, man. So we're super excited about it. You know what I mean? We're prepping for a new release of a new single next month, and we got the album coming early summer. And, you know, we're excited. Last time I was in Vancouver, I think it was like 2018.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were just starting. So it's kind of a full circle moment for us for it to be back in Vancouver where it all started for us.
Yeah. I have to ask, are you going to perform? Have you been asked?
I would love to.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Juno committee, you're listening.
Yeah, we would absolutely love to perform in the hometown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
It'd be nice.
Darren Young D. Metz, we really appreciate it. One half of Snotty Nose Res Kids after a long night and a fun night. Thanks so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on the stage in Vancouver at next year's Junos.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all, man. Much love.
Cheers. All right, let's go back to Glenda, who's joining us from Metchosin. Glenda, what stood out for you for the Junos?
Well, I didn't actually watch them last night, but I was reading the Post today, and I was so thrilled to see that Blue Moon Marquee won a Juno for their blues album.
Fabulous.
And I've seen them a number of times in person. Their music is fabulous, but if you see them in person, it adds so much.
Yeah.
Jazzy Collette playing the stand-up bass and playing the drums with her feet, she projects this energy that just beams at you, and you cannot help but smile. It's just really amazing, and I think it's so well-deserved. Absolutely. We appreciate your call, Glenda. Thanks for sticking on the line with us. We want to bring in another guest, and many of you will know his name. We have Vancouver's Juno-winning singer-songwriter Dan Mangan with us. Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
What were some of the highlights for you from last night's Junos?
Well, funnily enough, I missed them on the broadcast, but I have to give credit to CBC Music in that I was kind of just keeping tabs on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
etc. And I couldn't believe how quickly I felt like I watched the Junos, even though I was just watching clip after clip after clip online. So yeah, I felt well informed, even though I didn't catch the whole thing.
So you weren't able to see it live. Of what you saw on Instagram and social media, what were some highlights for you?
Well, I think the thing that kind of hits me most, Junos, is just how wide a swath of talent that we have in this country. You know, we were just mentioning the sort of representation element, which is amazing to see so many, you know, artists across all, and artists performing in several languages that weren't English, which is really interesting. But then also, you know, just me as a sort of indie folk dude, I love sort of seeing, you know, how much there is from the pop world, how much there is from the electronic world, from, you know, jazz, everything. It really hits across the board. And I think that musicians, each of us in our silos of sound, can kind of get lost into our niche worlds. And I love seeing just, you know, the broad appeal of how much amazing Canadian music there is.
We want to hear from you now. Who are your favorite Canadian artists, musicians? Who are you listening to right now? If you watched the Junos, what were the highlights for you? Give us a call right now, 1-800-825-5950. Our number in Metro Vancouver, 604-669-3733. You can text us, 236-330-2623. Pound 690 on your cell phone. Be pulled over. bctoday@cbc.ca is also our email. Dan, you mentioned the fact that there were performances there last night that were not in English, that perhaps a majority of the audience wouldn't have seen. Notably, Corinne Aujla, who performed in Punjabi. I watched it, and it seemed, even though I couldn't understand it, that there was it didn't matter because the performance was that good, the spectacle that good. What does it say that even if you don't understand the lyrics, that people are still connecting with songs like that?
I mean, I could name you 10 English-speaking artists for whose lyrics I have no understanding. I don't know what they're saying. You know, I think that is truly the power of music, right? It's the glue that fills in the cracks between, you know, I think even a song in my native language, which obviously is English, the power of cadence, the power of melody, the power of delivery. I think that, you know, a real song should be evoking something from deep within yourself that kind of transcends the words. And so if a performer can do that, if they can sort of reach into themselves and, you know, sort of eviscerate themselves on stage and throw their armor on the ground and sort of show something of themselves that is unwaveringly true, that is, you know, pure, people resonate with it, and it doesn't matter if you speak the language at all. And it's powerful.
Tim has been waiting patiently on the line from Kamloops. Tim, who are you listening to these days?
Well, all kinds of stuff, I suppose. Now that I'm old, I've always liked elevator music and Frank Zappa and anybody like that. But I think Canadian-wise, I think that one of the more underrated bands, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the Guess Who. And I don't know, I take it they're in the Canadian Hall of Fame, but I don't think they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, which I think is a shame. And Lenny Kravitz and Maestro Fresh West, if you're listening, you should advocate for them. If they can put Dolly Parton in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or Depeche Mode, how come the Guess Who isn't? And if they are, I stand to be corrected.
All right. We're going to look that up on the old internets and see if hopefully they are in. If they're not, you're making a good case for them, Tim. We appreciate the call. The pride of Winnipeg, the Guess Who. Christine is on the line from Victoria. Christine, any highlights from you from last night's Junos?
Oh, like everyone else, I also did not see the live performance and caught up on different social media platforms. But I just want to give a shout out to Alison Russell.
Yes.
Who I think has to be my favorite singer in all of Canada at this moment today.
What is it about her music and her voice that speaks to you?
She brings an energy to the stage of pure joy and pure rhythm in voice and instruments that you don't find often. And she does it with so much poise. and audience participation when you catch her live. She never loses her footing.
Lovely. Christine, we appreciate your call. And if you, hopefully you have seen her performance, and she was part of the ensemble.
Have.
Yeah.
Yes.
That tribute to Robbie Robertson and Gordon Lightfoot was quite something.
Wasn't
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And Dan, similar to what, and appreciate your call, Christine. What does it say that you can have artists like Alison Russell, William Prince, and others coming together to honor some people that may seem quite distant, but clearly still have a connection to so many listeners?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to overstate the impact of some of those sort of legendary figures like Gordon Lightfoot, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young. Canada has a long history of giving a lot to the world in terms of music. It was really cool seeing Alison and Mahdavi, who supported my last tour across Canada, and now he's winning Junos. He has just had an unbelievable couple of years. He is such a rising star. The sky's the limit. And same with Alison, just won a Grammy Award. Yeah. And I've known Alison for probably 15, maybe almost 20 years. Through various projects of hers, Birds of Chicago, Po Girl, pardon me. And it's amazing. It's so cool to see her, soaring, putting out songs with Hozier and Brandi Carlile, et cetera. She's just had an incredible few years. And as Christine said, she has so much poise. You notice when you kind of see how she deals with social media, how much credit she gives to her collaborators and people she works with. She's constantly going out of her way to share the spotlight, and it's really special.
Kind of Canadian, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very Canadian. Yeah.
George writes us an email. Rush is our greatest export. The Tragically Hip is Canada's band. But if you want Canada in a musician, that's Stompin' Tom Connors. He wrote that in all caps. There is not even a close second. I think we also have an email from Patty who says, from Victoria, says, I'm a huge fan of Alison Russell. We remember her well when she played around the various BC festivals and small concert venues with Po Girl. She's come up through some pretty soul-destroying life's experiences and has created a highly successful music career, conveying love and hope through her music. Cheers to Alison. And yes, she also did a feature interview with our own Ian Hannah-Mansing recently, which has been exciting to see. And we should note for our listeners, the Guess Who were inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame in 1987, not into the American Hall of Fame despite a fan campaign in 2021. So anybody's listening, let's try and get them in there. Dan, the Junos are coming back to Vancouver next year. Hoping to be a part of that. Are you going to be?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I don't know if I'll have a record in cycle at the time, but I love being a part of it. Award shows are tricky for all artists, because for every artist that is included, there's a number of artists who feel excluded. And so it's a tricky kind of thing to balance, and you have to make art not really worrying about it or thinking about it. And I truly feel like awards shows in general, what they celebrate more so than the art is trajectory and momentum. It's sort of like a pat on the back from the industry saying, we are awarding your hard work and the fact that it's working, and way to go, more so than you made a great song or a great album or something like that. And I think that that's an important message for all artists to take, is that, the trajectory of artistry is not always completely in line with the art of artistry, and I think that that's okay. That is part of how this all works. I'm excited to go. The party is great. I like just being involved. Yep. It's nice to be invited to things, and it's nice to have an excuse. I have 2 young kids. It's nice to have an excuse to get dressed up and go with my wife and have a nice time.
I want to get in a couple of more emails here. Chris writes, my favorite artists in Canada are Tegan and Sarah. They got an award for starting the Tegan and Sarah Foundation. And yes, and they had they made some pointed insights into their campaign for LGBTQ+ and two-spirited people last night. And it got quite a reaction. We also heard from Brenda, who writes, how can we decide on one? Yes, the eternal question. Shania Twain, Guess Who / Burton Cummings, Blue Rodeo, Jim Cuddy, William Prince, one of my favorites, and of course, Nelly Furtado. Oh, and the list keeps going. Gordon Lightfoot, Rush, Allison Russell, Anne Marie, and of course, Joni Mitchell. I'm sure I've missed some, but they're all great. We're fortunate to be able to hear them in Canada at different at different venues. Dan, just before we go, something that Talk said yesterday, because he won a Grammy, Juno as well, I should say. Runaway to Mars, fabulous song, and usually prompts a damn good cry now and then. He mentioned the support that the industry and elsewhere that Canadian artists get. You live this every day. Based on other industries and other music industries in other countries, how well do we support our musicians?
I mean, I think we could always support them better. I think it's really important as a society to invest in things that are slightly intangible. If you expect, the experience of existing anywhere to be interesting and thriving and full of culture. We live next to this incredible, fountain of culture, which is, the United States. For Canadians to export into America and to other parts of the world is very, very difficult. And I think Canada has always punched above its weight. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the icons like Joni and Neil Young, but always, even looking at today, Justin Bieber and Drake and The Weeknd, et cetera, Canada has always punched above its weight. And I think that has to do a great deal with the fact that we invest in the arts, we invest in culture, and I certainly hope we can continue to do so in increasing measures, because it pays in ways that are intangible. And it makes the experience of being Canadian all the more better. And it's hard to really see on a balance sheet. But if we care about our identity, and if we care about who we are, and care about continuing to have a culture and a sort of identity that is truly Canadian and not just a sort of subsidiary of America, then funding to the arts is absolutely a crucial part of that.
Dan Mangan, Vancouver's Juno-winning singer-songwriter, we really appreciate your time. Thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you on the stage at next year's Junos in Vancouver.
That would be fun. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. It is coming up to 12:33. It is time for a news update with Zara Premji.
Good afternoon. Major cleanup work has begun at Crab Park. People living in a tent encampment there are being moved to another area of the park for the cleaning program, despite calls from an advocacy group and the federal housing advocate to halt the process. The city has asked the 5 people who remained at the site this morning to vacate it so it could start a process that they say will ensure the area meets health and safety standards. Advocates say residents were prevented from retrieving their belongings this morning as the city moved in to seal off the area. The city says residents will be allowed to return early next month. And protesters clashed with ticket holders outside a Vancouver comedy show last night. It follows weeks of controversy surrounding jokes the comedy group The Danger Cats made about the Robert Pickton case. And BC is investing $24 million this year for projects aimed at helping people who want to walk or cycle. The province says 59 communities are getting active transportation infrastructure grants to improve or create new trails, sidewalks, or bike lanes. And now a quick look at the BC weather. For the North Coast, periods of rain and a high of 9 degrees. Moving over to the Peace region, it's looking like sunny skies for you and a high of 8 degrees. For the central interior, mainly sunny and a high of 10. For the Boundary and Kootenay regions, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 8 degrees. For the Okanagan and southern interior, mainly sunny, but the clouds will be popping in with a high around 13. Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria and the Fraser Valley, scattered showers and a high of 10. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
Zara Premji, I have to ask, what are you listening to these days, Canadian music-wise?
My friend, Walk Off the Earth. Walk Off the Earth Forever. But of course, with a little hint of Celine Dion and Dan Bang and my other favorites.
Shameless plug. Love it. Did you happen to see any of the highlights from the Junos?
I saw the highlights, definitely. I was catching up a bit earlier, and I have to say, very impressed. Nice to see how it all went. Tegan and Sarah all the way as well. So I just love my Canadian music. I can't stop.
It's an awesome time, and to see the diversity representation is really cool.
Yeah, Karan Aujla, really nice to see a South Asian
Suri
up there.
Zone.
I know. It's really nice to see, when you look on screen and you see someone who looks a bit like you, feels really nice. So it was nice to see that.
Absolutely. Zara Premji, thanks very much.
Thanks, Dan.
This is BC Today on CBC. We're on Radio 1, CBC Television, and live streaming on our website, cbc.ca/BC, YouTube, and the CBC Vancouver News app as well. Well, as we heard, there was also a Juno tribute to two of the Canadian greats who died in 2023, Gordon Lightfoot and Robbie Robertson. It was led by Montreal folk singer and musician Alison Russell and Ojibwe Cree singer-songwriter A. Sanabi from Sandy Lake First Nation. They were joined by a full band and fellow 2024 Juno nominees Shawnee Kish, Logan Statz, William Prince, and Julia Taylor. Russell and A. Sanabi turned Lightfoot's If You Could Read My Mind into a duet, and then were then joined by the other singers for a rocking group rendition of the band's hit, The Weight. Enjoy.
If you could read my mind, know what to tell me, thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie, how it goes from a wishing well. In a castle dark, or fortress strong, chains upon my feet, but you know that ghost is me. And I could never be set free as long as I'm a ghost you can't see.
If I could read your mind, love, what a tale your thoughts could tell. Just like a paperback novel, the kind the drugstore sell. When you reach the parts where the heartaches come, the hero would be me. But heroes often fail, and you won't read that book again, because the ending's just too hard to take.
Never thought I could feel this way, and I got to say that I just don't get it. I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone and I just can't get it back. Was feeling my next day. Just need some place where I can lay my head.
Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand. No, was all he said.
Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load on me. Picked up my bed, I went looking for a place to hide. And I seen Coleman and the devil, they were walking side by side, yeah.
I said, hey, come on, let's go downtown. She said, well, I gotta go, but my friend can't stick around. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load on me.
Catch a cannonball now to take me down the lane. My bag is sinking low, and I do believe it's time
to get back to Miss Fanny. You know she's the only one who sent me here with her regard for everyone. Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load right on me.
We love you, Robbie. We love you, Gordon. Forever,
Last night's Junos collaborative goodbye to Gordon Lightfoot and Robbie Robertson. Great to hear. All right, time to get sciencey. Each Friday, our science and climate specialist, Darius Mahdavi, along with all the other work he does as the hardest working person in show business, shares a fun fact with us on CBC Vancouver News at 6. But we're dragging him in early this week to share a bunch of fun facts from animals to chemistry, space, and more. And we want to hear from you now. What is your favorite fun fact? What do you like to share at a party, online, maybe to stump friends or kids? What do you like to get stumped by? And Darius Mahdavi joins us now. Thanks for coming in.
Happy to be here.
And you got the memo about the T-shirts and
Yes.
the blue jackets too. Good. All right. Excellent. Let's start with something from the animal kingdom, a fun fact that people can lock and load for friends and loved ones.
Yes. I mean, it's Monday, right? Everybody needs some fun facts today. Excited to hear what people have to say. But I know that your favorite animal is a tiger.
Very good.
Yep. So I came up with a fun fact about tigers, and that is that tigers cannot purr. They can only roar. Because any cat of any size can only roar or purr, because roaring requires a special bone in the neck that is flexible, and purring requires it to be solid. So all the big cats like lions, tigers, all those guys, they can only roar, not purr. And any house cats or cougars, those sorts of animals, they can only purr, not roar. So it's really a one or the other situation there. So there you go.
That kicks us off. We would love to hear your best fun facts. Maybe they're weird, maybe they're quirky, maybe they are informative, enlightening, entertaining. Give us a call now. 1-800-825-5950. Our number in Metro Vancouver, 604-669-3733. Email us, bctoday@cbc.ca. You can text us, 236-330-2623, or call us, pound 690 on your cell phone. Please be pulled over or hands-free when you do it. Perhaps you're a teacher, perhaps you're a grandparent, a guardian, something you've heard before that has either stumped or entertained. We love that stuff. Okay, we've gone from the animal kingdom. Let's move into a little bit more, well, we could still call it science, chemistry.
Yes. I also want to talk about glass, because people have, if you Google what state of matter is glass, if you Google, is glass a liquid, you're going to get hundreds of articles that tell you that glass is a liquid. And the sort of big piece of evidence they point to for this is that if you go into one of these old churches, especially in Europe, and you see these stained glass windows, they're thicker at the bottom than at the top. And so they argue that this is sort of running down, the glass is running down. And part of the evidence for this is that glass is an amorphous solid. So most solids have this sort of crystalline structure, so it's repeating and it's very structured, whereas glass is just sort of, things are randomly dispersed throughout. So if you take sand, and then you melt it down and you cool it really rapidly, you get glass. We don't really understand how that process works, shockingly. We know very little about how glass works, actually. But despite being amorphous, it is still a solid. And for the glass to actually run down and see that change, it would take longer than the lifespan of the universe so far to see that sort of change. So the reason that stained glass windows in churches are thicker at the bottom than at the top is not because of any sort of running down of the glass. Is not because it's a liquid. It's just because in those days it was very difficult to make perfectly flat glass, and so they had parts that were thicker and parts that were thinner, and smartly the people who were installing the glass put the thicker part at the bottom, because that's what you would do.
Generally,
yes.
It helps.
So unless you're talking in the timescale of billions of years to see microscopic changes, no, glass is not a liquid.
Okay.
It's very much solid.
You heard it here first, folks. So we go from glass to space.
Yes.
What's a fun fact about space? What have we got so far?
Oh, there's so many. We could talk about how the moon is slowly moving away from the Earth. We could talk about how Earth's days are getting shorter over time. But one of my favorites is that we often think of all the planets as orbiting the sun. They don't.
What?
No, the planets don't orbit the sun. Because we have the center of mass of our solar system is what everything orbits. The sun is very large. So you would think that that's pretty much just, that's what it's going to be. But Jupiter is also gigantic. And Jupiter is so big that it actually pulls the center of mass of the entire solar system out of being inside of the sun to a point just outside the sun's surface. So technically, everything in the solar system is orbiting around that point outside of the sun, including the sun itself. So everything is not orbiting the sun. It's orbiting this one little point just outside of the sun, which is the center of mass if you added up every single thing in our solar system.
Blast you, Jupiter.
Yeah.
My goodness. No, and when did they figure that out? They being scientists and smarter people than me.
It's been pretty well understood, but for all intents and purposes, it's easier to say that everything orbits the sun because it's more or less true. But if you want to get really pedantic and nitpicky,
go for it.
You don't. It orbits that one little point outside. So,
and how far off kilter is it from, let's say, the sun?
So if you, instead of being dead in the center of the sun, you're pulling it to a few thousand kilometers off of the sun's surface.
On a relative time scale of space, it's not that much, is it?
No, it's not that much.
Okay.
No. You can continue to say that everything orbits the sun. Nobody will fault you for it.
My goodness. Do you have an area of fun facts that you enjoy more than the others? Is it the animal kingdom's chemistry space? Where do you go?
Chemistry fun facts are harder to come by, for sure.
Why is that?
Well, there's a lot of backstory that you need for a lot of chemistry-related fun facts.
You need to understand it.
That, and then also just chemistry is already so weird and wonderful that being able to take something that's even stranger than most chemistry is a bit difficult, whereas space and the animal kingdom are things that everybody can sort of relate to a little bit easier, and so it's easier to wow people and give people something they can take home to the dinner table. So there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, I had to filter out dozens of tiger fun facts just to narrow it down to that one.
I tell you what, give us one more. Do you have another fun tiger fact on hand, or do you want to look? Okay, fire away.
Tigers can also use their ears to communicate. So they have little white spots on the back of their ears, and so the mother tiger, the tigress, if they are out with their cubs, will flatten their ears to communicate to the cubs they need to hunker down because there's danger nearby.
Oh, look at that. And we have a tiger email fun fact. Lisa writes, when I was in Africa, I learned that tiger pee smells like buttered popcorn. And another is that horses can't breathe out of their mouths, nor can they throw up. And Lisa grew up on a farm, so she's got some authority there. That's good. Let's get some more calls in while Darius looks up another fun fact for us. Dealer's choice. Do whatever you like. 1-800-825-5950 is our number across our province. In Metro Vancouver, 604-669-3733. Email us again, like Lisa did, bctoday@cbc.ca. There's got to be a teacher out there that may be enjoying spring break and wants to send off a fun fact or two for us. Text us 236-330-2623. and pound 690 on your cell phone. We have another email from Nicholas who says, the reason we say, and he's emailing from Vancouver. He says, the reason we say break a leg to actors before a performance is that in Shakespeare's time, if the audience didn't like what they were seeing, they would throw things at the actors and end the performance. But if they did like what they saw, they would let the actors finish the performance and actually take a bow, which involved resting on their knee or breaking a leg.
Wow, I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. And one of our lovely colleagues, Steve Venegas, always says, break a leg as he's walking by. When his shift is over, like, okay, that's good. But I didn't know the origin story of that. There we go. Love it.
I don't have anything to add to the Shakespeare one, but the buttered popcorn one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that about tigers, but I believe it because I've heard it about other animals too. Apparently there's some chemical in a lot of animals' pee that just smells like buttered popcorn. So if you're out in the wilderness somewhere and you think there's a movie theater nearby, maybe don't go seek it out. Who knows what you'll find.
Maybe have your bear spray with you, or just sit at home quietly looking up fun facts. Do you have another one there for us?
Sure. We could talk about how Neptune takes around 165 years to complete an orbit around the sun. And since it was discovered only a couple hundred years ago, it has only completed one orbit around the sun since we discovered it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Any idea how old Neptune is?
How old Neptune is? It formed around the time of the rest of the solar system, which is around 3 billion, older than that, 8 billion years old. I'll check.
Okay, he's going to look that up. Well, we remind you, you can reach us, BC Today at cbc.ca. Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950. The number in Metro Vancouver, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone. And our text line is 236-330-2623. Let's see how fast Darius was able to do that.
4.6 billion years old.
Oh, is that it?
Split the difference between the two that I said. We talked about Neptune. Neptune, we always think about it as being the when we considered Pluto a planet, we thought Pluto was the furthest out, and so you might have one of those. Whatever the word is for the thing that helps you remember the order of things, like
little limerick or
my mother, my very eccentric mother, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I'm not going to try and come up with one on
You
the
know what?
spot.
Somebody's going to call in probably with that limerick anyway.
Yes. And Pluto is always at the end. But actually, Neptune and Pluto's orbits overlap. So every couple hundred years, Pluto is actually closer to the sun than Neptune. So the last time that happened was from 1979 to 1999. And that means that for the next 200 years, we won't have Pluto be closer than Neptune again.
And remind us, why did Pluto get downgraded?
Oh, it is not able to clear its orbit. So,
Meaning?
To be a planet, you have to meet 3 criteria. You have to clear your orbit, meaning there's no sort of asteroids or anything major still in the way, and Pluto very much has not done that. There's a lot of stuff still floating around in its orbit. You have to be round or near round. So Earth is not actually a sphere. It's more of a roughly egg-shaped, but
Oblate
close enough.
ellipsoid, I remember.
Oh,
yeah. Nerd alert.
Yes.
I think, you know what, just before we get to that,
please.
Let's go to Danielle, who is joining us from Victoria. Danielle, what's your fun fact?
Platypuses. They're the only mammals that lay eggs.
That's a good one. Platypuses are my favorite animal. So
well, there you go.
That's a 10 out of 10 fact.
Way to tap into that, Danielle. Anything? Are there any? What's why platypuses? What prompted that?
About the platypuses?
Yeah.
Well, I saw a documentary about them once, and they live in Australia.
Yep.
And they look like a little marsupial.
Yep.
But they kind of have a beaver tail.
They look like a kind of like a science experiment, right?
They do,
Yeah.
because they look like a marsupial, but like with a beaver tail at the end. And they live in shallow creeks and rivers, and they lay eggs. But after they lay eggs, they look after their young.
Oh.
And they're really cute. Like if you Google them on the internet, you'll see they're absolutely adorable.
Yeah. I'm also told they can poison. Is that right, Darius?
Yes, they have a
and maybe Danielle knows?
barb on their hind leg. This is why I love the platypus. So that's my favorite animal. It's the animal with the most fun facts about it, which makes it the best in my eyes. They also glow blue turquoise under UV light, which they only discovered a few years ago. And yeah, they don't. They're mammals, so they produce milk, but they don't do it in the way most mammals do. Instead, they sort of sweat the milk out, and then the young sort of lap it up from,
More fun facts, Danielle. You've started a chain reaction. We appreciate your call. Let's go to Terry, who's joining us from Seattle. Terry, what's your fun fact?
I just want to say thank you. All the years that I've been watching your station from Seattle, with Darius coming on, he's just given so much more information that we could ever think of. It's not in the school books.
Oh.
It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Glad to see him on the weather station. It's just fabulous. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And
Thank you so much.
We'll have to do a shout out to Terry in Seattle on the show tonight, or maybe just show Seattle what's going on down there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, good idea. And Terry, do you have a fun fact that you'd like to go to at parties to confuse or to astound people?
Well, actually, a lot of us haven't been going to fun things, anything, for the last couple of years. But we're all trying to get back out.
Yeah. But you're making the effort?
Pardon?
You're making the effort to get back out there?
You better believe it. We
Excellent.
got to do something.
We appreciate you watching, listening, and reading, Terry, and you'll see Darius tonight.
Hey,
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care. Terry in Seattle. We appreciate all of our listeners and viewers everywhere. Adam in North Vancouver writes, it's space related. We talked about this, but we'll read it again for Adam's sake. What makes a planet a planet? Has to be large enough to make itself spherical. We said that. Has to be a single object, and it has to orbit the barycenter, the fancy center point of mass. Do we need to fact check that?
No, that's all. That's all
good?
dead on. Has
Love
to
it.
orbit the sun or the barycenter. Yes, good catch. Yeah, that was dead on.
Okay.
And I appreciate that because you really saved me earlier when you interrupted me after I said two of the things because I could not remember the third condition. So thank you very much,
it's
Adam
really
in North
Adam.
Vancouver.
That's right.
Yeah.
Adam in North Vancouver, saving our bacon once again. And then we have another one from, I think this is the same from Adam. So why is Pluto not a planet? Pluto's actually Pluto and, how do you pronounce that one?
I believe it's Karen.
Karen. Two objects orbiting each other. Okay.
Could be Sharon. CHARON.
Yes. We'll find out if Yeah, if Karen
Yes.
is wanting to speak to the manager of Pluto, but we'll find. I know, bad joke. There we are. Nicholas from Vancouver writes us again. A group of zebras is known as a dazzle.
Yes. The
Fun.
names for groups of animals are some of my favorite fun facts. A group of
I tell you what,
now I can't remember it.
hold that thought really
Yeah.
quickly. Jillian in Port Alberni, what's your fun fact?
There really is a man in the moon. As a memorial to the planetologist Eugene Shoemaker, who was killed in a freak accident in Australia, his students arranged for a vial of his ashes to go onto a NASA probe that was crash landed on the moon as an experiment to test lunar dust. So now when there's a full moon, I wave every night and I say, "Hi, Eugene," because the one thing he wanted to do that he was never able to do was to go into space.
Jillian, we really appreciate that. We are right out of time. Cool fun
Blew
fact,
my
isn't
mind.
it?
Amazing.
Awesome. Jillian, thanks so much. And Darius Mahdavi, always a pleasure. We'll see you tonight at 6.
Can't wait.